Let us start with the prayers. Om Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Kauravani Pracharini Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pashitati Shatarini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivachari Gauravantabhanta Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Am I audible to everybody? Yeah. So one main reason why 108 is light is because there are 108 energy points in the body. Okay, and when we chant 108 times, the intention is to energize every energy point in the body. Okay, so that's main reason why we chant 108. And apart from that, 108 is even otherwise also very auspicious. If we go by the scientific data, okay, the diameter of Earth and the diameter of Sun is exactly 108 times. So the Sun is 108 times bigger than the diameter of Earth. The Earth is 108 times bigger than the diameter of Moon. Okay. So the distance between the Sun and the Moon, Earth and the Moon and the Sun is exactly 108 times away. So that way 108 becomes very auspicious also. So those are reasons why we chant 108 times. The main reason is we want to activate every energy point on the body, and they being 108, we chant 108 times so that our body, every energy point in the body gets activated. Okay, I'll start with the presentation for today. We'll try to do a little fast if possible, just because we have to cover the consciousness presentation that we had to be done. And the other thing is there's something called the Goloka chart, which also we'll have to cover. So that will tell you, like, because we always have a doubt, where is God? What is our life going further? Where did we be in the previous lives? How does it change? What is our destiny? So those are things where Goloka chart will be able to help us a lot. So that's when we want. We normally do this Goloka chart on the second or the third or the fourth day. We'll try to see if we can do that today, or we will do it tomorrow. You are able to see my. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Okay. So now here we get to the chapter 4. Okay. So what did we do in what did we do in the first chapter? We said Arjuna had 5 doubts. What were the 5 doubts? Can we please type it on the chat, or if we can come out, please tell me unmute yourself and tell me. What were the 5 reasons Arjuna did not want to fight? He had compassion, then can we have some responses, please?
Compassion, family tradition.
Yes, family tradition.
Indecision.
Indecision.
Fear of sin.
Fear of sin, right? And what was the last one? So indecision. We said compassion. We said he was fearful that he'll lose family traditions. There is no enjoyment in it, right? Then they said there'll be a loss of family traditions, and there is indecision. Indecision and sin. So these are the 5 things, right? These are 5 reasons why he did not want to fight. Now, in the second chapter, what we saw, Krishna gave an answer to everything. The third chapter, we saw Karma Yoga. We should do your duty. That's what Krishna clearly says. Now, Arjuna is still confused. Now, he gives him the transcendental knowledge. Okay? He clearly said in the second chapter, you're not the body, you're the soul. Okay, that's what we saw further on the third chapter also. Now we'll see what is the transcendental knowledge. So, the personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna said, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to the sun god Vivasvan, and Vivasvan instructed it to Manu, and the father of mankind, and Manu in turn instructed it to Ishvaku. Okay, so how many of you know the characters Manu, Ishvaku, Vivasvan?
Prabhuji, we are able to see first slide only.
Oh, is it? Sorry. I think I'll stop sharing and I'll reshare it again. Give me a moment. I think there's something. Please tell me if you see my screen moving now. Yeah? Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, Prabhu.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, nice. Thank you for confirming. Okay, so how many of you know these characters? Vivasvan, Manu, Ishvaku. Okay, so Vivasvan is nothing but the sun god. So Krishna says, see this, the knowledge of Gita is not something I'm giving you for the first time, Arjuna. I have already instructed the knowledge of this transcendental knowledge of Gita to the sun god Vivasvan. And this happened more than 5,000 years ago. Sorry, it happened much before. Okay, it was millions of years ago. I had already instructed this to Vivasvan. After Vivasvan gave it to the Manu, the father of mankind. Okay, we don't know since how many years mankind has been existing, right? And here Vivasvan says, Krishna says he had instructed it to Vivasvan, and Vivasvan had given it to Manu, and Manu had given it to Ishvaku. And after that, when it came to the king Ishvaku and it was to be given to everybody, the chain of knowledge transfer broke. Okay, we saw 4 yugas, right? Which were the 4 yugas? Okay, anybody remembers? Yesterday we saw the 4 yugas. Nobody remembers? Yeah, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga, and what one? Satya Yuga, right? Okay, I'll just quickly give me a moment. Okay, the first one was Satya Yuga, the second one was Treta Yuga, the third one was Dwapar Yuga, and the fourth one was Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga is going to be 4,34,000 years long. Okay, we'll see that in the probably not today. Maybe we'll look at that in the next couple of days. We'll look at how long Kali Yuga is. Twice of Kali Yuga is Dwapar Yuga. Okay, and two times of Dwapar Yuga is Treta Yuga, and 2 times of Treta Yuga is Satya Yuga. And this whole Yuga, okay, all the 4 Yugas put together is the lifetime of Brahma. Okay, we'll go in detail and we'll understand that also in the next few days. Okay, when that is happening, so what happens is in Kali Yuga, the age of people, the life of humankind starts reducing. Okay, in the previous Yuga, in Dwapar Yuga, what it was double the life. So people are living for 150 years, 150, 200 years. Okay, and in the Yuga before, the Treta Yuga, they were living for 400 years. And in the Yuga before, Satya Yuga, they were living for close to 800 years. Now you understand, when they could go and meditate for 30 years, 40 years together, because their lifetime was very long. So that's how it has been clearly said in Bhagavad-Gita that the life of the people was longer. Now the life of the people is reducing. And by the end of Kali Yuga, so today what do we see? We say that people will live for 100 years. More than 100 is all very, very difficult, right? And today we are looking at the life of the people is average life. At least if you look at the average life of a person in India, it is somewhere around 65 to 70. Anybody who's like above 65, above 70, they always call themselves, we are living on borrowed time, right? That's the average life. The life expectancy has come down. So that's what will happen by the end of Kali Yuga. That the life of the people will come down, age of the people will come down, average life will come down, and it will be the end of Kali Yuga. But how many years have we completed in Kali Yuga? It's just only been 5,000, 5,200, 5,000, 5,100 years. Okay, we are somewhere in between. And when was Bhagavad-Gita spoken? When was Bhagavad-Gita spoken? It was at the end of the previous Yuga and the start of Kali Yuga. Okay, so that's when Bhagavad-Gita was spoken by Lord Krishna and was given to Arjuna. Okay, now he says, Arjuna, it is not that I'm telling you this Bhagavad-Gita for the first time. Okay, I'm not giving you this transcendental knowledge for the first time. This knowledge I had given during the start of the universe to Vivaswan. Okay, Vivaswan gave it to Manu, Manu gave it to Ishvaku, and then the chain was to be continued. This knowledge was to be transferred, but the chain was broken. Since the chain was broken, today I am here to give you this knowledge again. Okay. So you can see here from Krishna, the knowledge has been given to the sun god Vivaswan. From Vivaswan, it has been given to the creator of mankind, Manu, and from Manu, it has been given to Ishvaku, and after that, the chain was broken. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciple succession, and the saintly kings understood in that way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science, as it appears, to be lost. So Krishna says, I had given it, and it was to be transferred from one person's knowledge to the next person's knowledge. It was to be through a disciple succession. And somehow the disciple succession got lost on its path. And that's the reason why the knowledge doesn't seem to be existing anymore. It happens, right? When we have a continuous, what happens even when you go and, you probably go and meet some astrologer or someone. Whom would you go? If you have two choices, there's one astrologer whose family has been astrology for 20, 30, 2 or 3 generations. Okay, that's the astrologer who has been doing for 2 or 3 generations, and there has been an astrologer who's just completed and he's just starting his practice, or even for that matter, a doctor. You always see it. There's a father who's a doctor, the son is a doctor, the next generation is also a doctor. Right. So what happens that way is that one is that when new talent comes in, they try new things. So that is always there. But when they experience, like if there's a doctor at home, say your father is a doctor, and when you look at him every day, what happens is you'll see how he manages the situations. There are some emergency situations where he has to be there, okay? And his duty is important. He takes decisions on his duties. There'll be some conditions where he has to do the right things, though it is painful for the patient, okay? But he still does it. And those are things when you get to know at home, when he speaks out at home, what happens is the next generation gets used to it. Okay, so the next generation starts, okay, this is how it is to be managed. That is something that happens, right? When that happens, going forward, what happens is when the next generation becomes a doctor again, okay, they already have the experience and the confidence of having seen something that will give them so much of boost that they can go and deliver it in the right way. Do you agree to it or not? I want some answers on the So that's how it is. So that's the reason why the disciple succession is also important. The knowledge is important. Also, the disciple succession is important because that sets the base principles. Okay. So here that's what Krishna is saying. The knowledge has to be transferred to disciple succession. It is very important to transfer it to disciple succession. That's when the right knowledge gets transferred. So here you see how the Gaudiya Vaishnava personalities, how the disciple succession happened from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the various Gaudiya Matha personalities, and you see Srila Prabhupada at the end, and from there Srila Prabhupada revamped and he brought in ISKCON, and now ISKCON is again following the same disciple succession. Okay. So from Lord Krishna, we'll see that he had different methods wherein we had many gods from Lord Krishna. We'll see how the many lords were created and what are the purposes in the Goloka chart as we look at it maybe tomorrow. And we had Lord Brahma. From Lord Brahma, we had Madhavacharya. We had Sri Lakshmi. We had Ramanujacharya. We had Lord Shiva, where we had Vishnu Swami. And we also had Shankaracharya. We had 4 Kumaras and we had Nimbarakacharya. Okay? So all these people will look at where are they placed in the different in the spiritual world. Okay, you can see here how the disciple succession happened. Okay, so when from Krishna it went to Brahma. Krishna gave the knowledge to Brahma. Brahma gave it to Narada. Narada gave it to Vyasa. Vyasa gave it to Madhavacharya. Madhavacharya gave it to Padmanabhacharya. So it comes all acharyas slowly, one by one comes. You can see on 22. Okay, it is Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya is an incarnation of Bhagavan himself, Krishna himself. So it was when he saw that there are so many successions which have happened, and probably the essence of it was not being captured again. So he wanted to just insist on whatever the essence was. So he came back, he gave the knowledge, and he made sure he made it simple for people to reach the Lord, and he made it easy through the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. He made it simple and made it only Bhakti Yoga to be very easy for people in the Kali Yuga to follow. Then again you can see there was Rupa Goswami, there's Raghunatha Goswami, there's Krishnadasa Goswami, there is this. Then you can see Sri Jagannath Dasa Babaji. Then we had Bhakti Vinoda Thakura. Then we had, at the last you can see 32, we had Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. So we had this disciple succession. So Srila Prabhupada is the 32nd successor to receive the transcendental knowledge that was received by Krishna directly. Okay, now that is the knowledge that we are going to transfer through, like when we say we are transferring it, we have again learned, okay, we have again understood Bhagavad-Gita to whatever extent that we do from Srila Prabhupada's life. So from Srila Prabhupada, we are all disciples of Srila Prabhupada. So when we get that, now we are giving you the transfer to knowledge to everybody. Okay. That very ancient science of the relationship with Supreme is today told by me to you because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and therefore you can understand the transcendental mysteries of this science. So he says, Arjuna is still confused. Why is Krishna telling me all this? He says, I tell you this because you are my friend and a devotee. So what is very important? Why a devotee is very important? Okay, devotee is very important because this is a science which needs to be understood without doubt. Okay, this is something that is coming directly from God. And Arjuna is still asking for proofs and things. Krishna is giving every proof here. Okay? These are things where we should directly understand and where directly take it. That's why Krishna says, you are my devotee and a friend. That's why I want to give it to you. And he says, because I give it to you, he is sure that Arjuna is going to give it to the rest of the world. Okay? And being a devotee is very important to understand Gita. So when Gita was being said, okay, when Krishna told Gita to Arjuna in the battlefield, there were two more people who were listening to it. Okay. One was, who was the other person? Sanjaya. We know, right? Sanjaya could see through his blessed eyes through Vyasa. He had the blessings of Vyasadeva, and so he could, even sitting at a different place, sitting outside the battlefield, he could see, hear very clearly what was happening in the battlefield. Right? There was a live coverage of him of the battlefield happening for him. And he was giving that live coverage, streaming it online to Dhritarashtra. We've seen this, right? So what happens here was, Arjuna is able to get what is the right essence of Gita. He is a devotee. On the other side, we see that even Sanjaya is able to get the right things of Gita, but everything is getting into Dhritarashtra's thought, Dhritarashtra's ears, but he's not able to understand anything, right? Because he's not the right devotee. He doesn't have the right mindset to hear it. The right mindset to process Gita's words. So that is important. So if you put water in a pot which is in a bucket of water which is completely filled with holes, okay, it is so porous. Whatever you put into it, how much of water you put into it, is it going to hold? No, right? So it's something like that. When even the Dhritarashtra's mind is so corrupted that though you put so much of thoughts into it, so much of right knowledge into it, it is all going to just flow away. Nothing is going to stay inside. So that is why being a devotee is so important, to understand the right essence of the Gita. Okay. Arjuna said, the sun god Vivaswan is senior by birth to you. How am I to understand that? In the beginning, you instructed this science to him. Now Arjuna is again asking questions to Krishna. So you said, I'm a devotee, I'm okay, but I can't keep my questions to myself. Okay. He says, you said you instructed this to sun god Vivaswan. Me and you are of the same age. Okay, Krishna and Arjuna were cousins, right? They were almost of the same age. He said, me and you are of the same age. But you say you answered this. You gave this knowledge to sun god more than a few million years ago. How did you do that? So now Krishna has already answered to this, right? How many of you remember? Krishna already answered to this in the previous chapter. What did Krishna say? There was never a time when I existed. There was never a time that you ceased to exist. There will never be a time where me and you will cease to exist. Right? Correct. Different general. So Krishna is a person. Krishna can remember all his previous births, and he can also plan his future births, right? Whereas Arjuna, being a mankind, he doesn't know that he was in the previous Janma, he actually received the knowledge of Gita, but he did not receive it the right way. Okay, that's what Krishna is saying. He says like this was something that I had given and I always existed. So that's the primary thing. Okay. Okay. The personality of God said, many, many births, both you and I have passed, and I can remember all of them, but you cannot. O subduer of the enemy. So he says, I can remember all my births. Okay, but you cannot. You as a mankind, we as a mankind, we cannot remember. Okay? O subduer of the enemy. He says like now you can subdue all the enemy in front of you. So that's why he addresses him like that. Okay? Krishna is eternal and is unborn. Govinda Madhipurusha. That's what we say. In Dhamma Samhita, we always end it with Govinda Madhipurusham Tamaham Bhajami. That's because we say, Krishna, you are eternal and you are unborn. You are not born. You are always living with us. So that's how we address. Though I am unborn and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. Now Krishna is making very clear that Krishna is the supreme. Okay, and he says, I am unborn. My transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all living entities, I still appear in every millennium. Okay. Every millennium, Krishna will definitely appear. He is making it, he's giving his word here, he's making the promise here that he will appear in every millennium in the original form. Okay, he's not going to come as Narayana, he's not going to come as Rama, he's not going to come as any other form. Okay, not any of the Dashavatārams that we have heard of. Not at Hiranyakashipu, not as he's not going to come as a temporary feature. Okay, he's not going to come for a short time and then go away. He's going to live the whole life with us, and he'll appear in his original form, original transcendental form, which is the two-handed form, which is Krishna. A common man cannot remember what he has done even a few hours before. If someone asks sorry, just check your mics. Someone is unmuted. Okay. If someone asks what he did exactly the same time one day earlier, it would be very difficult for a common man to answer immediately. He would surely have to dredge his memory to recall what he was doing exactly at the same time one day before. So if I ask you yesterday the same time, what were we discussing on the class? I think we won't remember, right? How many of you remember what we were discussing exactly at this time yesterday during the class? Not many. What we had for breakfast yesterday morning, I think that is something we don't remember very quickly. We will have to think through, right? But God is not like that. God remembers everything, and not only of this Janma, he remembers everything of our previous Janma as well as his previous Janma. He knows everything that we remember, and he's something that is he's definitely superficial. So he's so knowledgeable, and he knows everything what happened exactly at this time in his previous Janma, what happened exactly at this time in every one of our previous Janma, and what we did yesterday, today, tomorrow, everything he knows. Okay, that's again the purport in Bhagavad-Gita 4.6. When does Krishna appear? Okay, whenever yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharat abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sujamiham. This is something that we have heard many times, right? whenever and wherever there is a decline in the religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a prominent rise of irreligion. And that time I descend myself. Okay, that's what he clearly says. So now he says, in the Yuga of Kali, okay, there's Kalki is the avatar that God will take, okay, and he is going to come. Krishna is going to come in the form of Kalki in this Kali Yuga. But then, when that happens, when will he come? Whenever there is a decline in religious practice. Okay, it's always said, like when there was the rise of Buddhism, okay, and there was slowly the very strong atheism which came in after Buddhism happened. Okay, there was very strong atheism which came in. So that's when Lord Shankaracharya, okay, to bring in revive the religion, okay, religious practices. So once Shankaracharya came, and then like again after that there was a decline in the religion. He had sent. Whom did he send? He himself came in the form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again continued, and then he spread the knowledge of Krishna. And like that, when there is a sudden drop in religious practices, and there's a lot of wrong things that are happening, there is completely irreligion. That's when God will again appear. Okay. Okay, we see this, right? We've heard the stories of Hiranyakashipu. When there is a drop, when there is sudden, when there's a, okay, oh, sorry. Okay, when there is a sudden drop in the, so when there is a sudden wrongdoings happening to a very large extent, that's when the God will appear. And here, even whenever there is a short, even for a short period of time, when there is wrongdoings, when there is a devotee who's getting hurt, okay, a devotee who's suffering, then Lord will definitely appear. Okay. Now, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to re-establish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. Okay, this is what clear Krishna again says. Whenever there is a wrong thing, whenever there is the wrong things have a huge impact. Okay, the miscreants increase beyond limits. Okay, I myself will appear. Millennium after millennium, he gives the commitment. Every millennium after millennium, I'll appear definitely, and I'll appear to make sure everything is set to order. So you can see here on the right side, when it is Krishna being taken, in terms of Krishna is born and then Krishna is taken from the jail to, where was he taken to? Where was he taken to? Can someone put it on the chat or unmute yourself and say? Gokul, right, that's right. Okay, where he lives with, where he is, though he is born in the jail, then who takes care of it? Yashoda Maya and Nandalala, right? Okay. This is one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not one who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in this material world, but attains eternal adore, O Arjuna. He says, Krishna clearly says now. So the life and death is a cycle. Okay, so it keeps one unless and otherwise, if one knows the transcendental nature of his appearance and activities does not upon leaving the body. So once he is surrendered to the Lord, once he surrendered to Krishna, okay, and we get the transcendental nature of this, we understand the transcendental nature of Krishna, and we get and surrender completely, then we don't get a rebirth in this body. Okay, then we go serve Krishna. We go to the next life, and we are not having this rebirths happening. That's moksha. How many of you have seen that? How many of you always say that when someone expires, they say like, hope he reaches the rest in peace, and we say let him start his heavenly journey, right? We don't say he should come back and be reborn. We always say he should start his heavenly journey, right? Let the soul rest in peace, and let them go to heaven. So what is heaven? Heaven is nothing but getting to the next higher planets so that they can reach the abode of Lord. Okay. Being free from attachment, anger, being fully absorbed in me, and taking refuge in me, many persons in the past became purified by knowledge of me, and thus they all attained the transcendental love for me. Krishna again confirms it. It's not that no one has come, no one has achieved this. There are many people who have achieved this. And how did they achieve? By taking refuge in me. So what is it that is important is to take refuge in God. Do everything in the name of God. Surrender everything to the Lord. Okay? Okay. So now we just do a quick recap. So Krishna and between humans, in his permanent form, our form is temporary. Krishna's form is permanent. His body is spiritual, our body is material. There is no difference between body and soul for Krishna. For us, body is different and soul is different. Okay. We are controlled by Maya. We are all having material attachments. And Krishna is the controller of Maya itself. Okay, now if you say that, no, I want to, by the end of, during our end of our life, so we say, okay, I could have lived a better life. I wanted to be a very rich person. I wanted to read that. I wanted to do this. Krishna says, okay, if you want to still be in the world of Maya, go ahead. I'll probably give you all this based on your karma, what you have done. I'll give you all this. You can go. I'll give you one more chance to go and rectify things and surrender to me. And if you surrender at that time, he just tells the soul, like, if you surrender, then your soul can come to the next life. Or if the soul still feels that no, I just want to be so rich, I wanted to have so many cars, I didn't have it, I wanted to do so many, I wanted to go around the world, which I couldn't do in this Janma. So it's okay, the soul wants it, have it. That's how it is. Okay, that's when we get back to the same Janma again and again. As all surrendered to me, I reward them accordingly. Everyone follows my path in all respects, O son of Partha. That's what he says. Like, I reward them accordingly. So you ask for it and you'll get it. You serve Krishna and you'll be getting it. So you see Krishna in the way you want to see it, and Krishna will respond to you in the same way. Yashoda Maya saw Krishna as a baby. Okay? And Krishna responded to him with so many leela, right? Yashoda Krishna leela is so many songs that have been sung, so many stories that we hear, right? Why? Because Yashoda Maya saw Krishna as a baby, okay, as a child, and Krishna responded to him as her as a child. To the cows, Krishna used to take them to graze, and then he used to take so much care of them, because the cows saw Krishna as a person who will take care of them when they is grazing. And Krishna took care of them accordingly. There was Shishupala who was looking always at Krishna, and he was blaspheming him everybody. He was so jealous of Krishna. He wanted to marry Rukmini, right? What happened? So Krishna, he used to blaspheme Krishna every time, but Krishna was always patient. He had a boon that he could blaspheme Krishna 100 times. The 101st time when he blasphemed Krishna, Krishna chopped off his head. The Sudarshan Chakra went and he chopped his head. Okay. What happened? He was looking Krishna as a demon. He was always looking at Krishna as his enemy. And when you look to Krishna as your enemy, Krishna responds back to you as an enemy. So that's how Krishna is. When Arjuna looked at Krishna initially as a friend, he gave him all the advice as a friend. When Arjuna surrendered and said, "You tell me what to do," he accepted him as a guru. Then Krishna gave him all the knowledge that he wanted. So that's how. So when you surrender to the Lord and you surrender to him in the right way and you expect the right things, he will give you the right knowledge. Okay, these are the different stories that we already saw. Stages of Bhakti. Okay, now we'll see what are the different stages of Bhakti. Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivirti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava, Prema. So the faith. First is Shraddha. So you have faith in the Lord. That is the nine stages of Bhakti. How do we saw the way we get, we fall into the material world, right? We started with getting attachment to it, and then we got anger to it, and then once we got anger, we developed lust. When we don't get something, we developed anger. When we developed anger, then we started, our mind got bewildered, and then when our mind got bewildered, we started doing the wrong things, and then we fell into the material world. That's the way we fall down. Now, how do we go up? Is to go up the ladder. So we start with faith. We start having faith in the religion and faith in the God. Then we start association of devotees. Today we see there are 15 people who are in this group, in this batch, and we are all, what are we doing? We are all becoming slowly, we are associating ourselves with the God. Okay. Perform devotional services. The devotional services is very simple. You can do the Mahamantra Japa. Okay, that's the simplest way. Decreasing the unwanted attachments. We said like whatever is unwanted, we slowly detach yourself. We slowly detach ourselves from the spending more time on the mobile phones, unwanted things like. So we have something like we detach ourselves from alcohol, we detach ourselves from non-vegetarian food, we detach ourselves from the material attachment. So these are slowly things that we can detach ourselves. What is required, we have it. What is more than just to satisfy the five senses. Okay, so those are some things we detach ourselves from. Then we slowly detach ourselves. We keep steady towards this. Once we have done a detachment, we have the devotional service. Then we have the association of devotees. We do a steadiness to it. We do it regularly. Once we do it regularly, we'll get the ruchi of it, we'll get the taste of it, and we'll automatically start doing it through our muscle memory, or we'll just start doing it even without thinking of it. So that's the stage when the taste becomes an attachment. Now you're still get back, do the same thing. You're doing the other way from the bottom of having fallen down. Slowly you can develop faith that you can do it. Then you go association of devotees. Then you go perform the devotional services. Then you go up, decrease the unwanted attachments. Then you get the steadiness of it. Then you get the taste of it. Then you develop attachment to it. Once you develop attachment to it, you develop love for it, love and all doing all these things. Okay, then it becomes prema, the pure love for Krishna. You've seen many things, like at home we have our elderly parents, and elderly parents as well as our we see a lot of people in the temples also. They enjoy dressing up the God. They enjoy doing services to the Lord. How many of you have seen people like that? We find it very difficult to go to temple and say like 5 minutes we pray in front of God and say, come on, I've done my prayers. We go, how many of you do this? We just go via the temple and say, God, thank you. All good, thank you. And then just keep going. How many of you do this? We don't even get inside the temple. And there'll be the other side of the characters that we see. They say like they see a temple, they'll take off their shoes and then they just immediately go inside the temple. spend 20-30 minutes. There'll be people who will just sit in the temple for a long time. How many of you have seen people like that? They enjoy doing this, right? So that is they have gone through this journey, and they are already in that place where they've got the ruchi of it, they've got the taste of it. They're getting attached to the Lord, right? So that is the stage at the 9 stages to get better. Yesterday we saw the 9 stages at which we fall down. Now we are seeing the 9 stages at which we go up. Okay, Navavidha Bhakti is what we saw. Okay. Now hearing Shravan 9 process of devotional services. Now even for the devotional service, how we can do it. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Sparanam, Pada Sevanam, Arkanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sankyam, and Atma Nivedanam. So it is hearing. First you hear. Now what you're doing is that you are only hearing to whatever words that I am telling you. So you are hearing to the Lord. Okay, next is chanting. Chanting is again, I always tell you, why don't you should start chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Then remembering Krishna, remembering Lord in everything that you do. Okay, then serving the Lord's lotus feet. So what we do is we slowly start. Once we remember, we'll do everything as we are doing it for the Lord. So we start serving the Lord. Then the next stage is to do deity worship. Once you start deity worship, you start praying to the deity. Once you do praying to the deity, you execute everything as orders of the Lord. Executing orders. Then once you are to that extent, then God says, now you and God and me are friends. So that's the stage that we get into. We say, now I'm going to serve my friend. God becomes friend. How many of you have considered Lord as your friend? How many of you consider the God to be your friend? Yeah. See, it happens, like when you're small, you see Krishna, and then like you see him as a kid, and you play with the toys like Krishna and play. Okay, Krishna is a toy. You play with him. Then once you grow a little more, he becomes a friend. He becomes of your age. Okay. And when you grow old, you still see Krishna as still a person who's still there. Okay. Who's still a friend, whom you can talk to, who will listen to you. Okay. That's something we always see. We always want someone who will listen to us, right? So that's Krishna. Talk to him as a friend. You start serving him as a friend. Then you'll go to complete surrender. Okay. So we also spoke of the gurus, okay, right? Why it is very important to get this disciple succession. Okay, the knowledge needs to come in the disciple succession. Okay, there's one point I missed out, so I just wanted to make sure we get it. Today we've got lots and lots of gurus coming everywhere, right? We see that suddenly someone comes up and says, this is Bhagavad-Gita and Bhagavad-Gita's. There are so many fake gurus that come in. They all have very good knowledge. They have got very good command of the language. They've got very good knowledge of the Shastras. But that is not the knowledge that is coming from the disciple succession. So that is not authenticated knowledge. It is the knowledge that they have read through, that they have understood. It is their own views which are coming out. How many of you agree to that? It is not knowledge that is being transferred, and it is coming the right way. Today when we read a book, so then we see that we understood the book, and tomorrow we cannot become teachers on that, right? It is like we doing our engineering or a medical science, or even the college education, the university education. We can do it even reading the book. Okay, we have a medical book, and you read that medical book, you can understand everything. Does that make you qualified to perform an operation? No, right? So you can always read the engineering textbooks. All the engineering textbooks are available online. It is available in the market. You can always buy them. You can read them. But you're not given an engineering degree to it. Why? That's because you're not following the authenticated process. So when we have the new gurus coming in, always check, because selecting a guru is very important. And when you get the right guru, like Srila Prabhupada, then if the knowledge is also authentic, it is coming through the disciple succession. And once you choose your guru, you don't doubt your guru. You simply surrender. You just accept everything that he says. Okay, you can always ask doubts to the guru. You can always say, no, I don't agree with it. Can you please tell me this? The guru will clarify it. So that's the role of guru. So that's why it is very important to choose the right guru. Okay. So again, the same thing, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Samara, remembering the Lord, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, worshipping the Lord, Archanam, Vandanam, offering prayers to the Lord, Dasyam, becoming servant to the Lord, Sankhya, and Atmanivedana, complete surrender. Any doubts still here? Okay. Men in this world desire success and fruitive activities, and therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive work in this world. Now Krishna says, see, like we all say, right, when you have to get good marks, you go to this god. When you have to get a visa, you go to this god. When you have to go perform, when you need it to be very strong, you go to this god. Krishna says, all that is made by me. When this men in this world, men and women in this world desire success and fruitive activities, all for small things that you want, please, therefore they worship the demigods. Quickly, of course, men get results from fruitive works in this world. So to get results for the immediate requirements, Krishna says you can go to the demigods. But for the long term, what do we need? What do we see? We see short-term success or long-term success. What do we need in life? Can you please type on the chat box, you want short-term or long-term success? You want to be CEO tomorrow or you want to be CEO for the long term? You always look at long term, right? So that's what Krishna says. When you want to have something for the short term, fruitive activities, then you go to the demigods. Who are the demigods? All the gods like Ganesha, Kartikeya, Hanuman, we have Lakshmi, Parvati, all these people. You worship Lakshmi, you'll get money, is what they say. You worship Saraswati, you get knowledge, you say. You worship Mahalakshmi, you get the whole wealth, you say. You worship Dhanvantari Swami, you get better health. All that. There is different lords for different activities. It is Lord like Krishna is saying at the top as CEO, and he's appointed lords for every department. Okay. He is also doing this management work. Okay, he is at the top, sitting as the CEO of the chairman of the world. Okay, and within the chairmanship, he has appointed Brahma as the creator. He has appointed Shiva as the destroyer. Okay, he's got a different organization to do. He's got a department to create. He's got a department to destroy. Then within the department to create and within the department to destroy, he's got next level where you create wealth, you create health, you create knowledge, you create strength. You have God for one reason, you got God for another reason. How many of you understand this? Like, how many of you find that this is to be interesting? That God is also going to do this management work, right? He's also on the top sitting, and you can't have Krishna. You can't call Krishna for everything. He says, okay, you don't worry, you can call me for everything, but what I'm going to do is when you ask me for help on money, okay, and you keep asking me money from me, I'm not going to give you. I'll assign this task to Lord Lakshmi, and Lord Lakshmi will help you on that. Makes management for Lord also simple, right? Just being it on the lighter note. So that's how Krishna, the demigods, the position of demigods is also in this world. Okay, so when we do the Goloka chart, you'll be able to understand where are the positions of different lords. Okay, it's 6:56. We'll see whether we can do Goloka chart today or we'll do it tomorrow. Okay. According to the three modes of material nature and the work associated with them, the four divisions of human society are created by me. I am although the creator of the system. You should know that I am yet the non-doer, being unchangeable. So that's what he says. So though I have created this whole world, okay, I still exist. And I am still expanding. As the Lord expands, the world is also expanding. So it is clearly said that Atma, the Paramatma, is available in every soul. And Paramatma, as he expands, the number of people on the world also will start expanding. So the population is never going to come down. It's always going to be on the rise. And Paramatma is going to expand continuously. Okay. What was the question? But Shankara is Devo Kedev Mahadev. So Shankara is Devo Kedev Mahadev. Yes, Lord Shiva is also the head. Okay, we'll tell you what is the position of Lord Shiva. Krishna used to worship Shiva. See, there is always this contradiction. Like Krishna worship Shiva, Rama in Rama Avatar, Krishna, Lord Vishnu worships Shiva. Okay, and then it always has if Krishna used to worship Shankara. It is not that way. It is Lord Vishnu who used to worship Krishna, Shiva, and Shiva who used to worship Lord Vishnu. Okay, both are equals. Okay, now we'll see where is the position of Krishna in the world. Why gods are expecting worship from humans? Gods are always there. It is human who's wanting the material attachments. Gods are owners of Maya. Okay, so if you want to get attached to Maya, so you go and ask God that I need this. See, what is money? What is beautiful dress? What is positions in this world? Are they permanent? No, right? Today you are a CEO of the company. Okay, tomorrow the company decides to fire you. What are you? It is only the Maya of that position that you had. Agree to that? It's only the Maya of that position. Today you are probably the CEO of the company, or maybe you have a beautiful car. Okay, you have a very luxury. We have an Audi A4 or Audi A6. Okay, it's all the luxury that we had. Tomorrow, if we run out of money, it can happen to anybody, right? It can suddenly happen to anybody. You have a beautiful health today. You go to the gym, you have a beautiful body and things. People suddenly feel sick. What is all this? This is all the Maya. So when you want an excellent body, they say, okay, you can worship Hanuman for that. And Hanuman will make you stronger. When you worship, Hanuman gives you that strength, gives you this mindset to build your body. What happens when you feel sick? Then you don't go back to Hanuman. You say, now I'll go back to Tanvantari Swami, Vaidyanatha Swami. All these are different gods having different departments. So to get to this attachment of Maya, we go to gods. And every demigod is an owner of one of the Maya. And we go to them for that. So why humans have to, gods are expecting worship from humans? Gods are not expecting worship from humans, okay? All that God is expecting is surrender to Krishna. But since you are attached to Maya, and you go and ask the attachments, for your attachment to Maya, you ask help from gods. Can we worship different gods, or should we worship only Krishna? This is a nice question. This question I was expecting much before. I think you came up only now. Okay, so we can worship all the gods, but I told you, all gods eventually will be reporting to Krishna. Okay, so how do you do it? Whether you can always worship all the lords, or you can worship only Krishna. So that's how you avoid Krishna. You always say attached to Krishna, detached from the material world, attach yourself to Krishna, surrender to Krishna. But when you want some material things, there are some material things everybody will need. Some position, some health, some money, and we'll go through all this. Okay, when you're doing that, when you surrender to Krishna, you don't have to worship any other Lord. But when you also want this material nature, see, we always say we need to be detached in this attached world, right? Yesterday we discussed that we need to be in a detached phase. We should be attached, but we should be detached. So that's how it is. You worship the demigods, you worship the other gods for your material things, but you always stay attached only to Krishna. Does that make it less complicated to understand? Okay, if Gita opposes material world, why God gives or responses his or her desires when worshipped? Okay, God gives you the desires because it is your body which is asking for it. It is you who are asking for it. What happens if you don't get a good money? Okay, you don't get money enough. You ask for money to God every time and you don't get. You said, okay, I'll not believe in God anymore. Happens this or not? God is not responding to me at all. This happens, right? So what happens? You start irreligion. You start giving up on your religion. So God gives you one chance. Okay, you ask for it, so I give you something. He doesn't give you the whole thing. You ask for 1 crore of rupees, he doesn't give you 1 crore of rupees. He'll probably give you 5,000, 10,000. What is exactly necessary for you? With which you can definitely manage. He'll probably give you only so much. And you'll still keep the faith with him. He knows he doesn't have to be. He can give you surplus, right? He's got unlimited of everything. He can always give you more than what you want, but he never gives you. He'll give you only what you want. If he gives you more, he gives you something else also to that, so that you don't use everything for yourself. In Hanuman Chalisa, it is written that only worship Hanuman. You don't need to worship any other god. See, it is again, Hanuman Chalisa is something that has been written. Okay, whom did Hanuman worship? Hanuman never said you worship only me. Hanuman never considered himself God. Hanuman considered himself to be the greatest devotee of Rama, right? So even when you today go to Hanuman temple, what do you say? Do you say Hanuman? Do you worship Hanuman first? No. You always see Rama Rama Rameti. You always go say Rama's prayers in Hanuman temple. So he says you should surrender to the Lord. And who is Lord Rama? He is an incarnation of Krishna himself. So always they say, Hanuman also says, what Hanuman Chalisa says is the second thing. What Hanuman himself said is worship Lord Rama. So which is better? Which is the biggest one? Which is bigger? What Hanuman Chalisa says or what Hanuman says? Right? So let's go by that theory. Okay, there is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire to do for the fruits of action. One who understands this one who understands this truth about me also does not become entangled in the fruitive actions of work. Now, this answers to all your questions. So there is no work that affects me, nor do I aspire the fruits of his action. God is not. Okay, I'll just answer. Take that question after this. So, if no work is affects, there is no work that affects the God. Okay, you take the surrender to God. You don't surrender to God. All that does not affect God. Nor he is aspiring the fruits of his action. He is not expecting. He gives you something. He is not expecting you to come back. But if you also get associated to the surrender to the Lord in the same way, okay, then whatever happens around you is not going to affect you. That's what God is saying. Okay? If gods are our managers, what are the objectives at the end of humans? So the objective for the human life is very simple. You go to the heavenly planets. That's the ultimate objective. Can anybody avoid death? Have you heard of anybody who has avoided death? Anybody who has Any way you can avoid death? Hanuman died, and what happened to our Lord Hanuman? He became eternal. Okay, he became eternal. He went to the next heavenly planets. What was he doing when he was on the earth? He was always serving the Lord. So because he served the Lord so without any results for it, did Hanuman expect any returns from Rama? No, right? So what happens? He goes, he becomes eternal. He gets away from the cycle of birth and death, and he goes and he gets his position in the Goloka. Okay? So that's the ultimate thing. The intricacies of actions are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what is forbidden action and what is inaction is. We should clearly know that. But it is said that when he is in Kailash, Parvat, and it is also said Shiva is also in Kailash Parvat. We'll tell you this Kailash Parvat in Goloka chart. I'll tell you that. Okay. Tomorrow morning, first thing we'll do the Goloka chart so that these questions are answered. Okay, is that okay? Okay. The Goloka chart is the overall chart, so that will help you. The intricate of actions that are very hard to understand. The intricacies of actions are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what is action, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. So, this is what we have been telling. Karma, vikarma, and akarma. We saw this karma, vikarma, and akarma yesterday, right? So, what action is good? What action is to be done without results? What action is to be done through surrender is something that we have to clearly understand. We do the right things. We do things to others and help people and others without results, and we surrender to the Lord. This is something that we need to clearly understand and differentiate and do this in our day-to-day life. What will happen is when you do this, you get away from your papas from the previous births, and you slowly move towards the heavenly planet. Okay. One is understood to be in full knowledge, whose endeavor is devoid of desire for sense gratification. He is said by sages to be a worker of whom the reactions of work have been burnt up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So that's what he says. Once you surrender completely, okay, the sages have always said, by the work, he works only for the reactions of the Lord. Okay, for whatever the Lord wants, he does it. Okay, then the work have been burnt up by the fire of perfect knowledge. So that's the perfect knowledge. All work that he does is for the Lord. So that's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did. Okay, abandoning all attachment to the results of his activities, ever satisfied and independent, he performs no fruitive actions, although engaged in all kinds of undertakings. So he's engaged in everything. He's in this Maya world. He's engaged in everything, but he's disengaged in everything and performs his activities. And he's got no attachment to the results of the activities. He who is satisfied with gain which comes from his own accord, who is free from duality and does not envy, who is steady in both success and failure, is never entangled, although performing his actions. That's what is expected. One who is gained from his own accord. So we gain from our own punya, and we are free from the dualities. We do not envy anybody, and we look at both success and failure in the balance, and we are not entangled in performing actions. The work of man who is unattached to the modes of material nature and who is fully situated in transcendental knowledge merges entirely into the transcendence. So this is what it is. So once you get attached, fully situated in the transcendental knowledge, and you are in that state of mind, in that state of, so the soul is in that state of situation, then it goes into the transcendental world. A person who is fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness is sure to attain the spiritual kingdom because of his full contribution to spiritual activities, in which the consumption is absolute, and that which is offered is the same spiritual nature. Okay, so in Krishna consciousness is the best way to get to the transcendental world. Some yogis prefer worshipping the demigods by offering some sacrifices to them, and some offer sacrifices in fire to the Supreme Brahman. So this is also happens. This is what I already said. You can always go and offer your prayers to the demigods. Okay, but demigods give you temporary pleasure. But for the supreme pleasure, you offer your you pray to Krishna and you surrender to Krishna. Others who are interested in achieving self-realization through control of the mind and senses offer the functions of all the senses and of the life breath as obligations into the fire of the controlled mind. So what happens is when you self-realize, you are completely surrendered. But when you're not, okay, you get into the thoughts of your controlled mind. You say, okay, I've given so much, I'll perform this yajna for this god, and I think my problems will be sorted out. I go to this temple, my problems will be sorted out. I go to this temple, I'll get more money. So all this is all the obligations into the fire of the controlled mind. Okay. But when you surrender to the Lord and you believe everything is, you realize that everything is the actions of the Lord, then you just go and you're not expecting any of the results. All these performers who know the meaning of sacrifice become cleansed of sinful reactions, and having tasted the nectar of the results of sacrifice, they advance towards the supreme eternal atmosphere. So when you realize this, you go to the next world. You go to the eternal world. O best of the Kuru dynasty, without sacrifice one can never live happily on this planet or on his life. What then for the next? If it's one who without the sacrifice of the Maya, without getting detached from the world and the Maya of this world, you can't live happily on this planet, or nor in this life, nor in the next life. So what is the pleasure in being attached to Maya? The best thing is to start chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. All these different types of sacrifice are approved by the Vedas, and all of them are born of different types of work. Knowing them as such, you will become liberated. So the worship of demigods, the yajna, the sacrifices in fire, all the sacrifices for fire, bhakti, nama sankirtan, all these are approved in Vedas. Just go follow them and you'll be liberated. Okay. So, O charister of the enemy, the sacrifice performed in the knowledge is better than the mere sacrifice of material possession. After all, O son of Partha, all sacrifices of world culminate in transcendental knowledge. So this was Krishna's against. All sacrifices of work culminate in the transcendental knowledge. You always want to go to the next world, right? So that is where everything is. You just have to surrender. In this Kali Yuga, what is main is only the bhakti. You just have to chant the name of the Lord, and you will move to the transcendental knowledge. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Guru is very important. Inquire him submissively and render services to him. So just follow what the Guru says, and the self-realized soul can impart knowledge onto you because they have seen the truth. Because the Guru has realized, and when he has surrendered completely, he has realized the value of that surrender. So that's what they say. That's what is being said here. Just go surrender and follow the Guru. Everything will fall in place automatically. So you can see here, Prabhupada, all the devotees so happy with Prabhupada. It's all because they've surrendered to Prabhupada. Okay. Surrendered to Krishna that way. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you are situated in a boat of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of mysteries. Even the most corrupt, you can always see that you can see some people are so corrupt, you always feel that why God gives everything to them. It is not because God is giving everything to them. It is because though he is so bad, he still he stays in the company of good people. Okay, there are some people who are serving the Lord, who he stays in his who keeps in his company. Okay, when that happens, because of the other people, he also sails the ocean. But that doesn't mean that he goes to the transcendental world. He still stays in the material world. But the others who have been going together with him, but are approaching the transcendental world, he also slowly starts cleansing. Okay, he doesn't go to the transcendental world. This Janma, maybe in 3 or 4 Janmas or 5 or 8 Janmas later, he'll also start moving towards it. That's because of his Sangha. So that's why his Sangha is very important. As a blazing fire turns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the knowledge burn to ashes all reactions of material activism. The knowledge and the bhakti, the knowledge of the absolute truth is something that will burn the reactions of all the material activities. When you detach yourself, when you realize detachment is the ultimate solution, so you slowly burn all the material activity, material reactions to ashes. How many of you agree on that? Right now, once you realize that these are all material things, are all temporary, you'll start detaching yourselves from them. You will not feel them to be any more required, right? How many of you feel that now? Yeah, so that is what is happening. Okay. A faithful man who has decided to transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses is eligible to achieve such knowledge, and having achieved it quickly attains the supreme spiritual place. So there are some people who realize it very quickly, like Ramanujacharya, like Shankaracharya, like Prabhupada, and these are like people who realize this much early. They actually attain this spiritual place in a very young age, right? Shankaracharya was very young when he became Acharya, right? Madhvacharya was also very young. All these people they could realize it much early. Prabhupada was 60, 65 when he started this whole movement. He realized this is the ultimate truth. So they get into this world, and these are faithful people who attain this transcendental knowledge very early. Okay? And they attain a spiritual place. But ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures, do not attain God consciousness. They fall down for the doubting soul. There is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. So we are all, these are people like us, okay, who are always doubting. We doubt the Shastra. I say like, Shastra cannot tell this. Shastra cannot do that. The rules are not like that. So we always doubt that. So people like us who doubt that, we fall into the cycle of birth and death and again and again and again. Therefore, the doubts which have been risen in your heart out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. He says, all this that is coming to you is because of your ignorance, because of your tamaguna. And now it is important to slash them all with the knowledge that I am giving you, which is armed with the bhakti, yoga of bhakti. Okay? O Sana, O Bharata, stand and fight. So that's what he says. Now it is important that you fight. Krishna claims this. It is that you do your karma. It is your duty to fight. Now you fight. Okay. So I think we came to the end of our class. So please chant the holy name, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And be very happy. So we are at